This podcast is part of E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience. David Housel described it best. We are living the whole of the Auburn experience. You can quantify it, you can qualify it through a variety of methods, time, people, places, and things. But at its heart and at its core, the Auburn experience is all about Auburn sports, Auburn culture, and Auburn family stuff. And if it's an easier way to say it for you, you might say, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. So thank you so much for joining us in what we're going to be doing on episode 132 of the Auburn Experience podcast. As always, I'm your host, Kyle Loomis, and alongside me, the person that you really show up for this show for, my co-host, Mr. Austin Scott. Welcome back, buddy.
Thank you, sir. War Eagle to our viewers and listeners. Hope everybody had a happy 4th, celebrating our great country, and it's always a good day to be an American and an Auburn fan. So that's what you're here for.
Yeah, I was going to ask you too. What were you in Auburn for the 4th of July?
We were not. We were in Birmingham celebrating my mother-in-law's 60th birthday, and so we spent the entire week up there. Got to see lots and lots of fireworks, and spend a lot of time with family. Eat some really good food. So nope, we were not in town for the 4th. But it's one of the first ones we haven't been for. We usually go to our church and watch fireworks from the lawn there. The big city show in Auburn, they shoot at the Auburn High football stadium, which is right next to where we go to church. And so it's usually a good show, but nope, not this year.
Yeah, I was going to ask, I mean, at least you knew what happens in the town of Auburn, obviously, even if you weren't there. I was wondering myself, not knowing what Auburn did for 4th of July, the city or the university, whatever, wouldn't it make sense to shoot fireworks out of the center of Jordan Hare up into the...
I think that's a valid, right. And maybe that's part of it. I think it's a valid argument. There's been times pre-kids, Emily and I have parked at the mall because it's a massive parking lot, obviously there. And you can see it's kind of like a mile radius from that Auburn City football stadium. And you can see from everywhere, and there's plenty of parking all around it. So maybe that's the problem. Auburn parking on the university side might not be as accessible, but it's a good show. They do a lot to it, and look, fireworks are about one of the only things that can make Auburn even prettier. So there you go.
I know, and we shoot the fireworks off from the end zone, obviously, from the scoreboard, or the video board. We gotta start getting used to saying video boards. And
true.
North, south, like, are we going to call one Big Bertha and the other
Big Bertha? Probably not.
Little Timmy. I don't know. I'm trying to come up with names on the fly here. So, 4th of July for us, nothing really Auburn related. But I did just pass by Auburn, and I can't tell you, Austin, how hard it was to fight.
I thought I heard you crying.
Yes. Like, as I'm blowing by the exits that you have multiple opportunities to go to, you could just hear me sobbing uncontrollably because I couldn't make it work with our schedule to stop through to where I am now. And I got to tell you, if you heard me crying, it was for another reason related to that, Austin.
Oh boy.
Today I found out that my wife of a decade plus, probably should know the exact number.
Okay. Keep talking. Keep
going. Today told me, I'm just not that big a fan of Toomer's lemonade. And did you see the light went out right when I said that too? Like that's
on earth prompted this.
I can't even speak, Austin.
Just a random bomb drop in the middle of July.
To be fair, I did ask her. I said, "Look, there is something I could roll. I like to roll through town when there's an excuse just to see if there's anything I can take a picture of to use coming up for content and stuff for you guys that follow E2C content." I said, "Look, I don't have a reason necessarily, maybe one thing, but it's not that big of a deal if we don't. Would it entice you at all to just roll through Toomer's Corner and get a lemonade real quick?" And she goes, "No, I'm good." And I was like, "Are you sure?" Like, I'm shocked that we haven't had one in a while. I was like, "No, I got to tell you, I'm just not that big a fan of Toomer's lemonade." And so literally it was just silence in the car for the rest of the way. I'm just kidding. No, she did clarify. She said she loves their strawberry lemonade, which I agree.
I was going to say, is this all iterations or just OG? And so that makes a little more sense.
She's a little picky about her lemonades. Like, she does love lemonade. And so I think she's had multiples out there. And it broke my little Auburn heart, Austin, to hear those words. And I'm trapped in the car with the woman that said that. Like, what am I supposed to do with that?
And you're trapped for life with her as well.
For better or worse.
So, but and I, to give Jessica credit, it's strong. For those of you who've never had it, it is strong. It's tart and strong. I love all kinds of lemonade, so it doesn't really bother me. But it's strong, and so I understand some preferences differ with that maybe, but she brings up a good point, and maybe that's so the brain trust before higher than us. All those flavors you can get at Toomer's Corner, Toomer's Drugstore. If you haven't tried them, maybe there's a better fit for you if you're not too high on the original lemonade too. So strawberry's one to go. Raspberry's a great one.
It is good.
My wife likes peach, so
I have not ventured out past strawberry, raspberry, and OG.
We need a live taste test.
Say less. That would be really good.
That's in the budget, right?
It's in my budget. It's in my budget. You might have to pay your own way if we're doing every one of them.
It's like what, 15, 12 maybe? We could
what per?
No. I'm just saying if we each got a small of the flavor.
Okay.
And you got 6, I got 6, and we tried them all.
Listen, we'll somebody in town
on episode 200. Y'all be on the lookout for
hey now, episode 200 from Toomer's Corner Drugstore. I kind of like the sound of that one. Let me just throw that out.
Is episode 150 more important than 200?
I was thinking about. Sorry, we're going a lot of tangents here, but that's what happens when we start.
It's a long intro.
I was wondering what we would do for episode 150. And I was like, do we really need to do something special other than maybe just show up on campus if it works out for,
I'm going to tell you when that would be real quick.
He's going to do the math. Oh, Lord. Math on the show is never good, even with our Auburn degrees. But yeah, I love that idea. I mean, we could do it from their back corner back there and just smell the sweet aroma of sugar and lemons and artificial flavoring things.
It definitely would be. I mean, even if we don't do it at Toomer's Drugstore, then if you'd love to have us, we'd love to be there.
Let's do it.
Our alumni house or alumni center setup would do well for it.
It would do well.
It'd be November 9th. I don't remember the football schedule off the top of my head, but if November 8th is a home game, then it's possible.
I think November 9th is a home game. I may be mistaken on that one.
I know the week before is Kentucky comes here.
Then it wouldn't be. That'd be an away. Okay. So, but we'll see. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. Live brainstorming here on the show. This is what
at Vanderbilt. So
well. Diego Pavia ruined something else. So with that, let's move into Auburn potpourri stuff and start talking about some of the different news stories out there. Hey, it's perfect, Austin. I honestly didn't start the show off this way.
That's a great segue.
It is. It's almost like we planned it. Shut up, Kyle. We planned it.
We did plan it.
We did plan it. Toomer's Corner. We got 2 potpourri stories about Toomer's Corner for you here. One may be a little bit of actually both could be a hot debate. So let's start with one. If you heard the news this week, there's a little thing happening for this week. We're doing this on Sunday, the 6th of July. This Tuesday, right, Austin?
Tuesday, yes.
There is an opportunity for you to show what Toomer's Corner is all about. To show up, hang out, roll the Toomer's Corner, and show your Auburn pride. Like it's going to be a recorded re-rolling of Toomer's Corner with Auburn legend not Peyton Manning. Eli Manning. Now, some of you are screaming at me. Yes, I know. Listen, he's not an Auburn legend, but he does Eli's places. Is that
that's right? Yeah.
All right. What do you think? This is apparently for his show. They want to show off. Yeah. What do you think? Tell me.
It's for his show. It's Eli ventures to lots and lots of college campuses around the country and does a little thing on ESPN Plus about those campuses, and it's a play off of Peyton's Places, his older brother.
I forgot
which is more like professional type cities and situations, things like that. But Eli is coming to Auburn to film for his upcoming season, I guess, Eli's Places, and they want to break a world record of people, I guess, rolling a tree at Toomer's Corner.
I never heard what the world record was, so
I didn't either. So I don't know if it's most toilet paper thrown or most people or what. Yeah, I mean, Well, I'm interested in your thoughts on it. We've talked on already before about what tumors corner can be and rolling tumors, what all that can mean. But what are your thoughts on this?
We debated this a little bit, but less of a debate, more of a discussion. I think you fell more on one side and I was kind of the other. I am of the opinion that, and we get into this debate of when should tumors corner be rolled. Okay. And some of you got some real strong opinions about it. And you're entitled to those opinions. You're also entitled to be wrong. I will say this. The Auburn experience, as I've always said it, is your experience too. And if you want to go out there and roll Tumors Corner by yourself or with your family because you just had a baby and it's going to be an Auburn person, go right ahead. Some people have taken that to certain extremes, like, I mean, maybe not necessarily super extreme, like a Auburn person won a big event or big at the professional level. We understand why that is. Certain other things, politics, that gets a little bit iffy, all those things. But it's the Auburn experience, right? It's there for you to do what you will with. Let's try to be good stewards of it and not force the crews to have to clean it up every time to work too much. But I'm very lenient on this. I like that Eli's coming to showcase our tradition and maybe help people understand it a little bit more. But I know that there's a lot of people who are already kind of restarting this debate. Am I correct in assuming you're more so on that side?
Yeah, it seems
it should happen.
Yeah, it seems like the debate definitely started. I think that if you saw the announcement from the university and read any comments, which are a dangerous place, there was plenty of public outcry. I think part of it has to do with are we filming something and just kind of putting on a show to showcase tumors, and is that okay or not? Seems very similar to, I think, Game Day has done it before, when on campus. And then it's also, Eli's not an Auburn person, and he's just the actor in the show. Now, he's ripped out some Auburn hearts back in the day, if you remember right.
I was there for that. Thank you for reminding me of that.
So was I, a young lad, but I was there. So, I understand both. I won't be attending because I have a prior commitment, but if you want to go. I based on the opinions and outcry, I don't think the world record is going to get set. Maybe that world record's very low though, so I don't know. But we'll see. I think if you want to go and be a part of it, I think you have every right to, and you'll enjoy it. If you don't, I think it's okay to just stay home.
Yeah, I think sometimes we get on our high horses about these things and don't just, it's not about your opinions about when this should or shouldn't happen. It's happening. So let's showcase the Auburn spirit and showcase what the Auburn family is all about. And then we can have our debate about whether this should have been happening or not. But right now it's happening. Let's have a good showing for it. Good luck. I won't be there, or I would have been there had I not been on the road this week, as you can already tell if you're watching the live stream. Speaking of Tumors Corner, it was just the week of Tumors Corner news.
Mm-hmm.
Now, not just the corner, but the crosswalks, the corners of Tumors Corner, all the way over there. News this day from the city this week that they were going to begin testing out diagonal crosswalk options at Tumors Corner. When you hear that, your first thought is this an April Fool's joke? Again, but it's not April's. Okay, so I'm safe there. And they even acknowledge that. And then there started to come videos and images from even, I think, before the announcement was made, of crews that were out there kind of looking at things. And so it's like, oh, this is real. This is actually, they're not playing a joke. Tumors Corner, they're testing out a diagonal crosswalk. What do we think?
It's interesting. I did not know this was like a thing anywhere. I have never seen this kind of design for a crosswalk, but it looks like you will have the opportunity, I guess, all at some point in the traffic flow, all areas will be on red lights. There's no turning on red anymore on right. And
be a problem.
It will be a learning curve, and people just, remember what your parents told you, look both ways. Please. Several times. But at that time, everybody can just go. It's like kicking an anthill over. People can just go. You can go straight from the Tumors Trees to the Tumors Drugstore. You can go straight from Whataburger to whatever the bank is this decade. That's not Auburn Bank. It's
is it not Auburn Bank anymore?
No, it was.
Let's just say
Auburn Bank moved built the new building back. Anyway, whatever that bank is, it's changed like 15 times. You can go wherever you want now. And I guess then there'll be a stop, and everyone will do their traffic pattern and go again. I don't know. I mean, it sounds like a great idea in theory. I'm sure they've thought through it, and they didn't make decide this idea on a whim. So
right.
We'll see how it goes. I'm sure it'll be better. I shouldn't say I'm sure. I assume it will be better like on highly traffic weekends like game day when there's a lot of people and it keeps people from having to go this way and then wait again and go that way. So I don't know. Have you ever seen this kind of traffic pattern before, Kyle? Okay.
I'm going to be honest with you. My the first thought I had was this feels very much in the same vein as a roundabout. And I said, what communists got control of the decision-making process? Sorry, did I make that very unclear about how I feel about not crosswalks, but
we got a lot of roundabouts in Auburn too. There's more coming every day. It feels like.
Okay. Anyway, before you get me upset about that, I'm not upset about this. Honestly, I know this is probably for mainly game days and busy weekends, like when there's imagine move-in weekend, like everybody's coming to move in, but also go do Tumors Drugs, go downtown, eat and stuff like that. And there's probably a use and a need for that. Will it work? It'll work. Will it work well? I don't know. We'll see. Obviously, there's a lot of efforts put in this thing. We don't want to doubt the research, time, effort that's put into the train. That's why it's a trial. But it'll be interesting to see, and you can certainly catch me as soon as the opportunity arises doing a video walking across. And if that's the last video I ever I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that. Anyway, because I don't want to make light of anything that may happen over there. So please understand that. But there it is. The Auburn crosswalks.
It's going to be interesting. And they're saw it brought up many times. There's some regular characters downtown Auburn that this will probably affect. So it'll be it's going to be an interesting sight to see. So the first time it happens, I would encourage people, maybe just go out there and watch, just see what happens. Yeah. I'm not going to be the first one to walk out there in the middle of the paw. I'm just telling you that right now. But I might be down there watching. So PNC Bank is the corner. Dad, I wanted to say PNC, so thanks. But PNC Bank there.
Our crack team of researchers in the background is getting the job done for us. That's right. We appreciate that always. All right, let's. We didn't get to do this last week, so I need to make sure we do it. Soccer released their full schedule, and I want to make you guys aware of it just for the sake of knowing the soccer schedule in general. But obviously, start planning your weekends around these events. And when you're here for football weekends, try to go to some of these soccer matches. As always, they are your first team to get started every single fall season. They have their exhibition match literally when August starts. That's going to be the case here. August 2nd and August 8th, Georgia Southern and then Memphis. Those are your two exhibition matches. And they released this schedule. If you want to go see like a graphic of it on their social media in piecemeal and then put it all together with their promotions. I love the release style of that and kind of breaking it down. It felt very much like basketball does a lot these days and football to a degree, knowing opponents and then times and then putting it all together. Let me just run through it and then we can offer some quick thoughts on it. This is your non-conference schedule. Home for Louisville and Samford, Southern Miss, and Kennesaw State. Then a trip out to Utah to go play BYU and Utah Valley. Back home for Florida Gulf Coast. They can't dunk on us, so no dunk city. Then your SEC schedule is at Ole Miss, home for Texas A&M, at Starkville, which is going to be a big one. Our head coach just came back from Mississippi State. Home for LSU, in Nashville for Vanderbilt, home for South Carolina, Tuscaloosa, home for Oklahoma for probably the first time ever for a home soccer match for Auburn and Oklahoma. We already went that one. Georgia on the road, Missouri at home, and then the SEC tournament, all that kind of stuff. So that is a quick look at the SEC schedule. Anything stick out to you or anything you want to point out from that?
Well, I mean, like you said, first trip to Norman, probably a big one. And then, there's so many athletics wide across Auburn, Mississippi State, Auburn connections. Coach Armstrong going back to Starkville will be another cherry on the ice cream cone for that with Auburn soccer. So more than anything, I think, we've talked about it. It'll be a big year because it's the first year of Coach Armstrong's coaching era. And so I think that stands out to me the most, and it'll be a fun season to cover to kind of see differences, how are things the same, and how this team does. So it's a very, very exciting time for Auburn soccer. And like Kyle said, that they are the first ones to get it going here in not long. We're only 55 days, I think, from Auburn football. So Auburn soccer starts like a month earlier. So just think about that. Auburn sports are coming back in a hurry.
Yeah, keep this in mind, folks. 17 games total. 11 of these are at home, so plenty of opportunities to come out, support Coach Armstrong, his new program that he's taking over. Returning home as an Auburn person, they're very much ingrained to that Auburn culture, so come out, support them. Yeah,
where can you go? Where do you go watch them?
To the Hoppa.
To the
Hoppa. Today, Auburn soccer, Auburn athletics. What do we got to do to get the Auburn soccer complex the Hoppa?
Well, I think I know what the answer will be with what we got to do, and you and I definitely can't do it. But
I know. But what I'm saying is, can we just please have I'm going to start doing it when I walk in. Get to the Hoppa.
There we go.
I'm just going to start doing it, and it's going to become a thing, and then it's just going to be it. But anyway, Coach Armstrong is our head coach. We want to support him and the new staff and the team. No Alabama or Georgia at home this time, but we'll get them next time around. But Oklahoma for the first time, and certainly a Mississippi State return trip for him will be very interesting for Auburn soccer. We are very behind in Auburn potpourri. We got to at least mention these very quickly here. Auburn did have a pair of pickups, commits, and signees, a commit and a signee this week. Let's start with the signee because that's the most immediate impact. This is probably the latest that I can think of in a while for a team that's about to hit the field in a month and a half. Yes.
Yeah.
Roughly. That you have someone added to the team from the transfer portal. We're talking about Jacoby Matthews, a former Texas A&M guy. He spent the last year at JUCO, I don't believe playing in JUCO, getting his academics straightened out. Defensive back, most likely safety. We put a video out already about him, and you should go check out that for more information. But we want to just discuss what do we think the impact is. What do you think what do you think? You bring in a guy from Texas A&M, DJ Durkin again. To me, that screams that if your academics are in check, you've been staying in shape and you pick up things. Would you think he probably would factor very heavily into playing time at that position?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think when you have a guy like him who was a 5-star signee out of high school, part of those big A&M classes a few years ago, takes a year off of football, kind of similar to Jarrett Stidham did coming out from Baylor, takes a year off to kind of either train or get his academics straight or whatever. And then DJ Durkin is familiar enough with him, and he's familiar enough with Coach Durkin that they want to make it work again and see if they can create some magic on the plane. So I think it makes a lot of sense from a scheme fit and a standpoint fit. He knows the system very well. It's just going to be a matter of where Auburn can plug and play him and feel like it'll make the most success.
Yeah, you got some young safeties that have already made a name for themselves. Caleb Harris, Sylvester Smith's been around a while, but maybe you're lacking somebody with experience and SEC experience, albeit, it's been a minute. That can't be underscored enough. A lot of times people ask you, what do you think about this prospect or this in the portal? I'm like, where did they come from? If you had SEC experience, that means you've been practicing against it, preparing for it, knowing what the speed, the strength of all, what you're going up against, even if against your own team, just practicing against them. That's a big win in my eyes, just having someone who knows what to expect and won't be surprised when they get popped in the mouth or they deliver the pop and they get run over or something like that. So welcome to Jacoby Matthews. Exciting to have yet another Texas A&M former person. We just keep poaching them and bring them on over to Auburn. And finally this week, for 2026, certainly, we know a lot of you are worried about the class. Chill out, is all I'm going to say. If you're obsessing about that right now, you probably need to just kind of take a breather. But brand new commit to the 2026 class, tied in from dead center of Atlanta, Kentrell White has just decided to commit to the Tigers. Around 6'4", 210, I think. We'll have a video about him pretty soon if it's not up already by the time you're hearing or seeing this. I know tight end's probably a position that we haven't talked about a lot, Austin, of late, but always good to see someone coming in and maybe they could be the next great one at Auburn as an Auburn tight end.
Yeah, absolutely. Kentrell White from Atlanta. It's a great spot to be. Make sure Auburn continues to recruit well. So, you never know in this day and age how recruiting goes. But I think the more Auburn continues to add to who they have and continue to, especially invade Georgia, can only help. So congrats to Auburn and Kentrell White, and hopefully we'll see him as a Tiger next fall.
Yeah, a lot of room being opened up after this year with Brandon Frazier leaving. Tate Johnson, who just moved over to tight end, will be leaving if anybody else transfers out. You got two young guys that just came in for the last class. So there could be potential room for playing time. We'll see how it all shakes out and how the offense continues to evolve for Coach Freeze and how they want to utilize tight ends going forward. So that's going to do it for Auburn Potpourri. We had a lot there to cover, a lot of Toomer's Corner news. But let's get into the big stuff this week. Nothing happened. Nothing
at all.
Nothing happened in terms of what's been developing probably for decades at this point for some. That the day that Auburn and Under Armour signed, they were wishing it wasn't. That's how long some of y'all been bitter about this. And so now the other side will be bitter for the rest of time because they're not happy with the choice of Auburn and Nike. Official as of July 1st. What a week it was. It was full of excitement for uniform reveals for all the fall sports, soccer, volleyball, football, and technically track and field, but it's just for the cross-country crew. They're getters. Oh, and equestrian as well, which, yes. But I'm always a little bit confused by that because it's just more their warm-ups. And
kind of felt like some training or some practice and warm-up stuff, but it was good they highlighted them. Yes.
But you got to see it. So that we got some information about fan stuff and maybe some disappointment and controversy to talk about too. So that's kind of where the things that we want to touch on here. But your opening thoughts, Austin. The era has begun. Auburn and Nike, just do it, baby.
Yeah, Auburn did it, right? That's kind of the slogan and how they've paired it together. No matter how you feel about it, it's a big systematic change for Auburn athletics with moving to Nike. It's been a long run with Under Armour, and look, Kyle and I we didn't even playing it. We're wearing Under Armour tonight.
I so forgot I was wearing Under Armour tonight.
How about that? So this is vintage. We got vintage stuff on right here.
Pour one out. It's water, folks.
No, we got vintage gear on. How about that? It's a big change, and for better or worse, however you feel about it, it is a total shift from where Auburn's been the last, 15, 20 years, almost 20 years. So I think it'll be a good move for Auburn. I think it helps them in the immediate and in the future setting up. And who knows how either of these companies will shake out. That's, they didn't know a lot about how Under Armour would shake out, and it did a lot of really good things and maybe some poor things in some opinions toward the end. So who knows? But it's a good change for Auburn. It's an exciting time for Auburn athletics. And I think you saw a lot of that excitement this week.
If you had to pinpoint the one thing for why this switch was made, whether it's, some people say recruiting, some people say finances, some people say because it's a more recognizable brand and it aligns you with the majority of the powers that be in college athletics, specifically college football. What would you say, Austin, putting you on the spot, is the one reason that we're talking about the beginning of the Nike era for Auburn?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I do want to go ahead and shout out, because I know you've had him on this week with Clint Richardson, has been a busy person this week.
A little busy bee.
Had a little bit going on. But I do want to say I thought it was very cool how many people utilized Clint this week and got his work out there, because he does such a good job with it. So this question might be better for him, but I do think, I'm a marketing thinking person. And I think that brand identity is a big deal. And it matters here in this. I think Under Armour and Nike have both been at the top two for a long time when it comes to sports apparel and sports logos, when it comes to merchandise and things like that. But I think Nike's probably always had that leg up in terms of whether it be just more popular among fans or athletes, or maybe it's just the swoosh has been around longer. I think that probably carried a lot of weight. I'm sure there were other factors that I'm not privy to, and the athletic department was able to study all those different avenues and areas, whether it be, like you said, cost, possible financial impact from going to Nike, or, specific equipment. I'm sure it was all kind of one. But for me, I feel like when we all talked about that the Under Armour partnership was ending, most of us had a pretty good idea. I know there was talk about Adidas, but most of us had a pretty good idea. It's going to be stay with Under Armour or leaning going to Nike. And I think as it dragged on, the longer it went, that it just felt like Nike, because of their history and kind of steady, rock solid footing in the athletic industry, they have it churning at a good rate right now. So that's kind of where I stand on it. I think that it's just it's a recognizable brand and has been for so long, and Auburn feels secure in it.
I had a feeling that's the route you were going to go with it. And wait a minute, you're telling me that it's not because it was going to instantly change Auburn's recruiting just in a level it's never happened before? Like,
No.
what happened?
I don't think that's the case.
That's what I was told on social media, though. That's what I read about and regurgitated and didn't do my own research. And look,
clickbait.
Folks, let me just. I'm not arguing that there can't be some impact on recruiting because we have Nike. No one who is being reasonable argues against some impact, but what we're arguing is what you believe the impact will be and the level and the quickness and all that stuff. We're just having fun with it. Here's where I think Auburn went to Nike, and I can relate it back to recruiting. Actually, I think it's more where you think more marketing, and then they're both these are related. I think more business sense in terms of money. Everything's about money in college athletics.
100%.
What gets you the most financially sound decision to be in for the next decade of this deal, but foreseeably for a long while, unless something drastically changes yet again in the market and Auburn wants to take a chance like they did with Under Armour, which I think worked out for the most part for 2 decades. To me, you're going into a more financially stable situation with a company that's not going away,
right?
That is known everywhere. Majority of people at least those that go out and buy things, those that choose to speak up, they don't like it. You might think that it's out there or that it may not be as well received, but I think that's really what it amounts to. Is money, business. What's the most financially, which impacts recruiting, meaning that if you are taking on something that is going to be fiscally responsible going forward as a decision for businesses, there's going to be money used a little bit better. The trickle down effect. I know that just triggered a bunch of people. That's like a political word these days. But anyway, that's where I lean on it. And there's 1,000 different ways you could cut it, to be honest with you.
Agreed. And I think I'm sure with, freedom of information requests and public records, eventually we'll know the numbers on that. And I think that will probably show a lot of the reasoning behind it. I think, contrary to what maybe some of you believe, Auburn is still a very big time national powerhouse brand in college athletics. And so I'm assuming and believing they were compensated pretty fairly when it comes to this deal with Nike. They certainly were with Under Armour. I think it will be intriguing to know, and we might never know, but I think it would be intriguing to know what each offer was, and if there was a difference and how much maybe a brand noticeable difference made up in terms of money. Was Under Armour higher, but Auburn went Nike because it was a little lower, but this made up because of what we think about it. We'll probably never know that. But I do think that it's going to be interesting to know those numbers. And like you said, regardless of what it is, Auburn was able to probably catch a pretty big dollar amount for this. And that's what you got to do, especially in this day and age. We talked to you about revenue sharing last week. It's what it's all about going forward, and who can manage it the best is probably going to be the ones who are the most successful. So we'll see. It'll be very intriguing.
Yeah, definitely. The other angles that I want to talk about with the Auburn and Nike beginning is this. There was, I think, a little bit of disappointment this week, and Clint tried to warn a bunch of you. I think we tried to a little bit with our content too, that some of you were building up July 1st to be something that it wasn't going to necessarily be. The recruit. No, I'm kidding. I'm just trying to get people stirred up with that whole recruiting thing. The reveals were great. Obviously, we've already mentioned that.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that. Most people made this comment. Nothing changed except the logo. And technically, you are correct, but we don't know that officially yet because Clint hasn't gotten in there with a fine-tooth comb quite yet to find just the stitch out of the place, or not out of place, that's been moved around.
Yeah.
Although I will say this. Never mind. Clint told me something that I can't unsee now. Maybe he'll talk about it coming up very soon. I can't steal his thunder on that. So the big disappointments were, I think, not much was done to the uniform, which you were forewarned
for football,
about.
right?
For football, football, yes, which is what everybody mainly comes to. Let's be honest, we understand that.
Sure.
The other was, some of y'all didn't listen to Clint and others, that you weren't going to have the ability to purchase gear right on July 1st. And I know that's a big frustration, especially when you looked at Rutgers, move number 2, and they had it right away. If you
different
want
situation.
Yes. Clint spelled it out, and Rhett Hobart also spelled some of the reasons behind why that is as well. It's not just one reason, it's a whole nuance. So this is not necessarily a discussion of the criticism, this is not about criticizing those things, just discussing your experience as the Auburn people. So, I mean, what did you see, or what are your reactions to what we found out and didn't get on July 1st with Nike?
Yeah, so it's actually funny because was it last Sunday or was it? I think it was last Sunday after Emily and I went to the supper club at the top of the Graduate, which I talked about on
just
on
rub
the
it
show.
in again that you've been there and I
Throw it in there 2 weeks in a row. I said, hey, why don't we go down to the team shop across from J&M, just see if they're rolling out stuff or if they're putting up pictures or things like that. And there were people out front doing the signs, putting up signs saying, a new era, Auburn, and had Auburn Nike logos, but it had a big thing on the window. It said, get your gear July 25th. And so that obviously that's what we ended up seeing in the releases and things, is that the gear was going to be coming to be available in a few weeks from the release. Now, like Kyle said, there's a whole bunch of reasonings for that and decisions that went into that. The brunt of it for me, and I took away from Rhett's tweet, was that I thought they were doing right by a lot of their vendors by being able to say, we don't know when certain people will get things. We want to make sure they all have the opportunity wherever you are to be able to go on one day, and that's when they're putting it out. I think that makes a lot of sense to help their vendors and maintain that good relationship. I do think there's also something to be said for what's my word here? I'm looking for taking something off of the excitement that comes, capitalizing on the excitement that comes on July 1st. Some things just don't work out that way, and that's okay. Look, you're still going to be able to get your stuff on July 25th before you go to Waco. You're still going to get your stuff before the home opener on September 6th. So it's going to be okay. There's going to be plenty of stuff. And Rhett put it out there too. All the stuff that will be available will be out by then. So you don't have to say, do I want this or should I wait a couple weeks, see what else comes out? All in all, I understand the frustration and the maybe disappointment of not being able to, I'm going to get something with Nike on it July 1st so I can wear it while I watch the Auburn Experience next Sunday. Well, it just didn't work out that way. And I get it. But I think in the long term, it's okay. It'll work out. I like the idea of capitalizing on more excitement on another day. Everybody's going to be up until midnight on July 24th, waiting to refresh the pages too. At the end of the day, it's not that big a deal, but it still works out well. And so I like that there's a slow rollout of it. I will say, Kyle, the video that they dropped at midnight was a good one.
That was a good one.
It was a really good one. Yeah. That's Ned Sheffield, who was the grandpa figure in the video. I thought that was really cool and a good way to kind of still show Auburn is leaning into the tradition, even though it's a big change by going to Nike. I thought that it did a good job. Wargo Creative did a good job of kind of moving all of that into one kind of slow transition at midnight. And then, like you said, the uniforms, we've talked about, we're both pretty traditional people on football and things like that. I didn't want to see much change. I did think that it might have been, and I think you might see this on down the road. I did think it might have been cool to see the AU logo return to the collar, like the Russell days. I thought that it just, I don't know much about templates. This says Austin down here, not Clint. So I think that if it works on that, I think it would look good for the Nike template. But I'm not surprised by nothing being that big of a change. I think we talked about not to expect that. Clint has been warning people for a while not to expect that. The numbers look really big on the back, which will be good. Yeah. Good for my eyes as they're getting older to see. But I thought everything else looked really good. I don't know whether it's a preference or if it's a Nike thing. I thought that the other sports, non-football, everything looked a little more printed than stitched. I don't know how that affects ability and all those things, but I thought that's a different kind of look for Auburn athletics. And I was overall impressed with just the rollout of it and giving each sport their time and their due and being able to show the details of it all. But I don't know what I expected going into the week talking with Auburn and Nike, but I feel like I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, to me, as someone who doesn't really, to be honest, care about this that much, I actually wasn't really a fan of the switch, but not for any one particular reason. I've said this a lot of different places, but I also don't care enough to get up in arms about who it was or anything like. Now, if we went to something like, I don't know,
Puma.
Puma. Well, even that, but at least that's a athletic brand, you know.
Oh, sure.
American Eagle, if that's still around, I would have been like, I need to go talk to somebody in the front office because I don't think I think I can see this as a poor financial choice.
Izod.
I would just say, to me, I'm glad that people are excited.
Yeah.
But I also love that Auburn did a good job of honoring Under Armour on that final day. Yes, great videos there, as you said. Great video to begin the Nike era. And let's be honest, if we're doing this show in 20 years from now, we'll probably be switching to the next brand that
probably hadn't even come up yet.
And so you, the Auburn fan, may be the next one. You may come up with the new Russell that started right in Lee County. We could be
Brooks and Barrett. Brooks and Barrett, you got to come up with an apparel merchandise plan. Come up with a new. No, Bluey won't work. We need a new merchandise plan.
Brainstorming just happened live with 2.5-year-olds.
Yeah, give or take. Yeah,
give or take. So you're looking at it right now. It just started right here, episode 132 of the Auburn Experience. Dibs. Can I get a little cut of that equity? Of that
yes,
company? Okay.
We'll be supporting the Auburn Experience on podcast 4032.
Well, there you have it. There you have it. It's all been figured out here today, decades in advance. So Auburn and Nike, the decade of that at least begins today. And we are this week, and we'll be looking forward to what else comes out with that. I'm excited for it, and we'll see what transpires with the first fall sports for Auburn and Nike. Let's round out our time today talking about something that is a little bit tertiary Auburn stuff, but it's not the most foreign concept these days. We've been piecemealing some updates about this for you over the last weeks and months. Most of you will know by now the phrase War Ready, the name really. War Ready is an Auburn-based team. There is the thing called the basketball tournament, TBT, out there, and it is essentially a March Madness style bracket event for basketball teams to play to the finish, and a $1 million prize is handed out to the team that wins. A lot of these teams in this tournament are alumni-based. For instance, War Ready. They actually were a team previous to that. We've done the whole spiel about that many, many times, and because the Auburn family essentially adopted them because they grabbed a few of their players. The Auburn family adopted them, and they.
You remember what Auburn. It was?
Man, it
was Tampa something, right?
It was Tampa 2020 is what
Tampa
it was.
2020,
and that's where I believe they're still technically based out of because the GM, Matt. I'm sorry, I forget how. Michelle, but he's the one that kind of spearheads everything.
Tampa
They're very interactive with the Auburn family too, so please give them a follow. Go support them if you can. We want to talk about the preview. What you need to know about what's coming up. It's about 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks technically away from the beginning of it. But I guess I'll let you start us off, Austin, unless I'm putting you on the spot with whatever you want to talk about in our preview about War Ready. I'm not saying too much.
Well, I mean, it's always, we talked about Auburn soccer is not very far off, but this is kind of one of those first, ever since a few years ago when they started out, War Ready was kind of the taste of Auburn sports coming back in the late July. And so that's what it'll be again this year with plenty. You good? that looked not good.
Sorry about that.
War Ready has a number of former Auburn players again. And as we talked about on the show, the more success Bruce Pearl has had, the better players that have gotten on the team. As they retire out of Auburn and go do their professional things and then come back and be invited to play with War Ready. So
that's a good point, Austin.
Yeah, and we're getting better every year in both standpoint.
No shade. I love seeing Simeon Bowers out there. He's not there on the team this year, as far as we know, the roster at this time. But listen, when you can start pulling in.
Wendell Green did great last year. Katie Johnson is there this year.
Come on, folks. I mean, that's a great point, Austin, that as Auburn basketball has gone, in some ways, so has War Ready. Now, I will grant to you, and we're not going to just sit here and not talk about the reality of everything. They have struggled to get past the first round a couple of times, not with Wendell Green, and they've done it once previous too. I believe I've got my timelines correct on everything. So this is a team that definitely deserves your support. To watch how your former Auburn Tigers are doing out there. Let me give the roster as we know it at this current time. Please keep in mind, we're talking about this as it is currently on July 6, 2025, and it is still 2 weeks. They're, I think, starting their camp essentially in a couple of days here. So what's listed on the TBT website for War Ready: Antoine Mason, Babatunde Akingbola, Katie Johnson. It's time, baby. Malik Dunbar is out there about that time. Wendell Green. Those are your Auburn guys that are currently listed. There's been a couple guys that were announced earlier on in the year that do not appear currently on the roster. So we're just going to leave those off for now. This thing changes just because people are committing their time to this. And sometimes things change. Here are the people that you do not know, maybe, or not as familiar with, that'll be playing with our Auburn guys. A couple Florida State guys, specifically Darren Green Jr. We also have Naheem McLeod. Those are the Florida State guys. And then you've got Terrell Smith and Tim Dalger, who will be on this 9 roster currently. I would suspect there'll probably be a 10th one added, and it wouldn't shock me if it's a late non-Auburn person added. So it'll be about half and half. But right now, it's mainly Auburn guys. So, Austin, what are you excited about on that roster? There's some names that are pretty interesting.
Yeah, there is. And there's some guys who've had success internationally already, some guys who are just coming out of college. Wendell has obviously had a lot of success, and kind of more of his success carried him even further after his showing in TBT last year. Yep. I think we're all excited to see the Psycho back, KD Johnson wearing some orange and blue. I think he will bring a lot to this team. Him and Wendell as a backcourt is pretty fun. But I think that it'll be really fun to see Stretch play some too. He didn't get to play a lot in Neville Arena, but obviously a very big glue guy and a guy who was able to transfer out and go play at George Washington. I was going to say George Mason.
And then KD went to George Mason.
Yep. Yes. And so he got his opportunity to play some. And so what will he look like after a year of getting to play a little bit more? And then these other guys who are going to get to have a lot of fun around this group of Auburn guys, that's for sure. How will they fit? It'll be really interesting to see. But we'll see what it looks like. They're playing X-rated. Is that right?
Yeah. I can give you the preview.
It's a family show, but they're playing X-rated, right?
Thank you. Yes. Let me add this one thing to the roster. Technically, LaRon Smith has been with War Ready for a time, but he's not listed on the roster, but he's played with them previously. I think he's more in like a coach and support staff kind of role. So I just want to acknowledge that he's at least been involved with them in some way. I don't know what he's doing this year. He's been kind of pumping up the guys.
Been promoting,
promoting. So he's obviously invested in some way into this. So we want to acknowledge him as well as an Auburn person too. So let me give you the information about what you need to know in terms of who they're going to be playing, where in Austin. Yes, this is a family show, but they are playing X-rated. Auburn is
who's on that team?
Yeah, wow. Jokes continue to roll through my head, and decisions are being made to not say a dang thing.
Good for you.
Good. That's called self-awareness, Kyle. 4-seed War Ready will be playing 5-seed X-Ray Ted is how it's spelled. So maybe it's just a
bunch of guys named Ray and Ted.
And an X in there somewhere.
Yeah.
But, so that is not an alumni-based team. In fact, I'll tell you this much, Austin. I think there's a lot less alumni-based teams this year. I hope that's not dying off.
Me too.
But definitely they'd let you know, like in this bracket, you have a Louisiana Tech team, you have a Kentucky team, and then there's many more after that. So Auburn will play X-Ray Ted Friday, July 18th at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And folks, most of you have this channel, FS1. You can watch it. Game 3 of the day in the round of 64. Make sure you are ready. Friday evening. I know you got things to do on a Friday evening, even during the summer, but just come on. This comes around once a year. Help Wendell, KD, everybody else in the team get over to the next round of 32. They would play technically, if they were to win that, on Sunday, July 20th at 2:30 p.m. And then if they were to win that one to go to the round of 16, they do those first 3 back-to-back, essentially. Tuesday, the 22nd, 6 p.m. All of these games essentially are on either FS1, FS2, or Fox. So channels are available, times you kind of know. They're not worst times in the world. No excuses, folks. Get ready. I don't know anything about X-Ray Ted. Austin.
Well, I just looked at the roster and I didn't recognize all of them but one. New Williams, former Auburn player, I think, and then he went to play at maybe Fresno State. New Williams was part of Auburn Bruce's first group. Could dunk out the gym.
Wait a minute. We're playing New Williams?
We are playing New Williams. And if you've been following already, which some of you have, some of you might not have, he was on an initial roster with War Ready earlier this year, but we are playing against New Williams. Yes, that's correct.
I'll take a sip
of your nasty water, apparently. We are playing against New Williams. So it's another Auburn connection, but and some little off-season drama in the TBT. So who knows?
Drama in the TBT.
I didn't recognize any of the other names. Yeah. So, I'm not saying that means anything about their basketball acumen, but it should be a good game. And like you said, the fact that it's on FS1, I think it's first year. It was really hard to find to watch.
Yeah.
So the fact that it's on FS1 is shows some success in the tournament, and hopefully a lot of people will be tuned in. Look, we've said it before, and I'm willing to state this right now: the ratings for that game will be very high because Auburn people support Auburn people. So make sure you're tuned in to War Ready playing X-Ray Ted on Friday, June 18th or July 18th.
And this is in Lexington, Kentucky, so you can, if you're up there in that region, get some tickets for that. I don't know if they're on SeatGeek. I think you just go mainly through the website, but they are. You can always use our code E2C Network and get you a little something off.
If Miles Kelly wasn't with the Dallas Mavericks, I bet they'd be begging him to play in Lexington again.
Could you imagine?
I think Miles has got a pretty good setup in Dallas.
He does. I'm so glad that Dylan also got picked up in the NBA. But gosh, if Dylan Cardwell ended up on War Ready, could you imagine?
A lot of fun.
The hype around that. So let me just say this: we're only focused on the game ahead, but this is the Lexington Regional, and that means that La Familia, which is the Kentucky-based team, which is interesting. I mean, I think there's a story behind that, but they may be the team that Auburn faces next, and that's the host regional. I do like that this plays their regionals essentially all the way up to the Sweet 16 in big basketball towns, Lexington, Dayton. So Pittsburgh, I think, has done it one time, if not this year. So there's a lot of things to be excited about, especially if you just need a little shooty hoops, Auburn basketball flavor. This will get you through until we get to the football style of things. So
did War Ready end up playing La Familia in Lexington last year? Am I making that up?
I do not believe that we have ever played La Familia.
Okay.
We have played, I think, East Tennessee's, which tends to be not a bad basketball school, once before. I think they beat us that year, whatever their name was. I'm 90% sure we beat an Xavier squad one year.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to find it. Last year we beat the D2 Waymakers.
That was actually a pretty big win, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
It was by seeding, it was an upset.
Okay.
And then we lost to, I'm missing it now. No, I'm sorry. We were a 4 seed last year, so we beat the 5 seed D2 Waymakers, and then lost to the Marshall team. Heard that. But we were in the Lexington region.
Okay.
With La Familia and some others I don't recognize. So,
well, whether they get to play them or not, we're focused on X-Ray Ted, and we're focused on seeing our little psycho, Icy Win, doing the logo win, as you call him. Some legends now in the Bruce Pro era, Antoine Mason and Babatunde Akínbọ́lá, who's got some skill. Y'all just didn't get to see it a whole lot. And then, of course, it's about that time, Malik Dunbar, and maybe some others along the way. But this is what we know right now. We support the guys that are there with our Auburn guys. We kind of support our guys that aren't on the team that if we just found out about.
They might have made a poor decision before by going elsewhere, but they're a part of the team this time.
Did he get an NIL deal? Is that what just happened? Did we just see the NIL infected to TBT? Is that what just happened?
NIL has reached out into TBT. Who knows?
Oh, you're going to get people stirred up now. It's ruining everything. It's ruining the TBT.
Look, folks, if you hadn't followed NIL much, I'm going to tell you right now, that prize of $1 million is not going to get you very far. So
either way, we are super excited about War Ready. We'll be watching. Certainly we'll update you on how they do. But that'll come up in about 2 weeks. We wanted to get this one in before we got too far into the summer and go ahead and preview what's coming up next for Auburn and or ready. That's going to do it for episode 132 of the Auburn Experience. We appreciate you being here and hanging out with us. As always, we want to hear from you. Hit us up on social media. You can find us anywhere, and also email is available, E2CNetwork@gmail.com. And if you want to find myself, at Loomis24, where can they find you?
Yeah, I'm at Austin G. Scott on X on Instagram, and everybody has a good week. I saw our E2C Network's post earlier today, 55 days till Auburn kicks off on Friday night at Baylor. I meant to ask you, when had you posted? No, it would have been before. Had you posted any of your countdowns before the Friday night move announcement and then had to redo your math, or was it way before the 100 days?
No, I mean, I haven't, not since. I had to do some redos in previous years, but not this year.
Okay.
Some days they've been the day of I made them. I'll be honest with you. So
I was just curious.
It takes a minute to kind of. I have a template. By the way, had somebody complain. It's like, it's literally the same video every time. I was like, it's the same template, but it's a different series of videos every time. Would you like to take the time to come and do that? Would you like to take the time to come gather the content?
Send in your application, please.
So that we don't plagiarize and copy everybody else's work and use that. We try our best not to do that.
It's clickbait. Clickbait, Kyle.
It's clickbait. It's clickbait, Austin. Yes, that's everything. We're being so toxic this summer.
This is a bad summer for us.
All right. With that being said, before your foot goes further into our mouths, thanks for being here, hanging out, spending some time being a part of our little family and the Auburn family. War Eagle.
War Eagle.